What's up? What's up? All right. So today we're going to talk about neurotic holding patterns and how it affects our body. Of course, we can talk about how it affects our relationships, our emotions, and also even our faith life, right? Business and so many other aspects of our lives, our relationships, our social life, all this type of stuff. Neurotic holding patterns are huge. But today we're just going to focus on the four main issues that neurotic holding patterns causes in our body. Okay, that's all we're going to focus on today. And this is going to be the framework that we're going to use to discuss these issues. The first one is going to be the problems. First, we'll talk about the four problems that happen in our bodies because of these neurotic holding patterns. Then we're going to go into the possibilities. What is actually possible? Instead of the problems, what can we actually achieve when we don't have neurotic holding patterns? What is our body going to be like in that certain type of situation, right? And then we're going to go right into the principles. These are mindsets that we have to know. These are principles that we have to acknowledge and say, whoa, okay, you know what? I acknowledge that principle, and then that'll lead me in order to finally be able to take action. And those are the strategies that we'll go into next. So it's not just strategy. It's like, okay, what do I have to believe and know in order to then take the strategies that'll make sure that I go from my problem of having neurotic holding patterns into the possibility of not living a life with neurotic holding patterns. And then lastly, I'll give you a four-part path of what to do, where to go in order to achieve a life without neurotic holding patterns. So let's go right into it. Number one, the problems. Going right into the problems. And the first problem is the most obvious: chronic muscular tension. That's a big part of neurotic holding patterns, where it's just real tension in our muscles that doesn't stop. It's been there for a long time. Some people feel it on their legs, on their pelvis, on their back, on their shoulders, and their face. You can see it in many different places of people's bodies if you just have the eyes to see and to look at it and be like, whoa, man, this is tense. People walking up all tense in different parts of their body. And the first thing you can notice is the poor posture, right? And this probably affects you too, and many different people. If you just walk around and do people watching, you'll see people with all types of different posture, right? The big one that I see all the time is like really tight back and shoulders. Really tight back and shoulders, can barely move their shoulders, right? That affects you. That affects you. Go to the gym, see see how much you can bench press with this with these tight shoulders, and be like, oh, my shoulders, yeah, I'll jack up my shoulders when I bench press. Yeah, there's a reason. It's called neurotic muscular tension. Also, there's the reality that when we have certain muscular imbalances, specifically because of chronic muscular tensions, people notice that. You may not be aware of other people's neurotic holding patterns in a way that you could map it out. You say, "Oh, I see that, so I know exactly what it means." But subconsciously, you know, and other people know that this person is a little bit off. They're a little bit different, you know? One big one is like the scared character where it's just like they're cocked back. They're cocked back a little bit. This one's a very common one. They have like they walk like a duck. Un pato. They walk like a duck, right? And it's not a lot. It's sometimes just millimeters where it's a little bit back. But this person is not cocky. They're not open to the world. They're not somebody that you meet and you're like, whoa, that's a confident person. Because they're literally, just because of their poor posture and the chronic muscular tensions that they have in their hips and their psoas, they're a little bit back. And that makes a huge difference in just the way that you relate to them, whether you think they're like a person of value, of worth, somebody you should hang out with or not, somebody that you trust. These things are legit, but let's keep it just focused on the body. Number one, poor posture. You'll have poor posture in many different areas because of the chronic muscular tensions that happen through neurotic holding patterns. These neurotic holding patterns also cause, number two, emotional stress. Your body is literally using up energy to hold those muscles tight. You may not notice it, you may not be conscious of it, you may not want it or be aware of it, but your nervous system is just firing up to keep those muscles tight constantly, chronically, all the time. And we'll talk about more of what that does later. But really, what it does is it causes emotional stress. It's like, let's say you're going to meet somebody and you're talking to them. Actually, this just happened right now. So I said something to my mother-in-law, and I had to take a piss. I had to pee real bad, right? And then she went in and started telling me a story, and I'm like, okay, I feel the tension, right? I feel the tension. I got to pee, and then I'm just trying to be like at peace and be calm and be present. But at the same time, I'm feeling that inside, right? That's a bladder filled situation where I'm feeling that tension. But with chronic muscular tensions, we have that same type of scenario, that same type of feeling, maybe all the time. There's some people that are just angry. They can easily get angry. They're angry all the time. Their nervous system is just ready to fight, just ready to fire, right? And it's just like, and then, man, some people you just can't even talk to. You just can't talk to because they're just full of like anxiety or anger, or there's just stuff going on in there. And a lot of it is caused because of these chronic muscular tensions that produce emotional stress throughout their life, throughout every single day. And this is like, it's chronic because it's every single day they're dealing with this emotional stress. The other one is self esteem issues. Straight up, like we're talking about having poor posture and also being a person of emotional stress. Of course, you're not going to be super excited and confident in yourself if you notice, holy cow, my posture is not great. Not only just emotionally, not only just emotionally are you going to be like in a different type of state, emotional, physical, mental state, but also there's going to be things that are going to be happening in your head that are going to cause you to have low self-esteem because of the way people they treat you and the way you see yourself. You're going to be like, yeah, I can't achieve that. I can't do that. That's for him or that's for her. I can't do it. Because people do treat you differently because of these neurotic holding patterns. And over time, if enough people notice that you're angry all the time, they don't want to hang out with you, or maybe you're sad all the time. You don't notice it and you try to hide it. You try to hide it. You're like, no, I'm going to put on a happy face. I'm going to learn social skills and communication skills. And then you go in there and they can see the sadness all over you. It's all over your body. It's written. They may not notice in the way that they can tell it to you, be like that, boom, 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 boom. But subconsciously they notice and they're just like, yeah, I don't want to really hang out with this guy. I'm just kind of forcing myself. And then you start feeling a certain type of way about it. You know? Yeah, you're already dealing with the emotional stress, but on top of the emotional stress, there's also the self-esteem issues that come. That's like a mental, what is it called? Tape player going on in your head. And continues because of your poor posture, because of the emotional stress. And now you also have self-esteem issues. And that's because of these chronic muscular tensions that we want to eradicate and eliminate out of our lives. Neurotic holding patterns. Okay, that's problem number one. Let's go into problem number two. The other one is shallow breathing. This is huge. And I know there's many different people that teach breathing techniques and all this type of stuff, and that's awesome. And if anybody has gone through anybody's breathing technique workshop or course or whatever, you'll know, and you already know that it's just like, oh yeah, actually, breathing is a big deal, and it's like, whoa, it really transformed me in many ways. And one of the big ways that it can transform you is to reduce anxiety. People that have shallow breathing are very anxious people. People who are very anxious have shallow breathing. It's like, is it the chicken or the egg? It's both, it's both at the same time. And this anxiety is because you're not able to tap into your parasympathetic nervous system. Like you just don't. You never have the chance to rest and digest properly. Maybe when you sleep. Maybe when you sleep a little bit, you're just like your body's finally like, oh, okay. Oh, I can stop firing this and I can stop feeling this type of anxiety. And you probably don't feel it because you're asleep, right? But during the day, you wake up the next day, and guess what? The anxiety is still there. The feelings are still there. And the truth is just by working on the breath, just by doing the breathing exercises that maybe we'll talk about later, you can open up your breathing so that it's full and natural breathing. And that's taps into your parasympathetic nervous system, lets your body and your brain know that you're safe, that you're cool, that you're fine. You know, you're not like eating a sandwich just at a park in a beautiful place, eating a sandwich, but your body at but your body at the same time feels like it's running from a lion. You know, it's like you're just like it's like I'm imagining someone like maybe an angry person trying to eat ice cream. You know, do they actually start like not being angry? Imagine. All right, I'm just making jokes, but no, that this is true. The anxiety continues, and a lot of it is because our body is not accustomed to breathing fully and breathing deeply. The other thing that happens with shallow breathing is that people are chronically tired, right? Chronic fatigue. They're not really getting into that rest and digest. They're not tapping into their parasympathetic nervous system. They're probably not sleeping very well either. And now it's just like, man, I am always tired. You don't have the energy. You don't have the energy. Like legit, the oxygen is not saturating your blood as much as it should. It's not going through the whole part of your body. You know, it's not going in there. It's not like you're vibrant and you're alive. It's just like, oh, okay, just another day. Just another day. Oh god. You know? It's not like you're going out there and you're like tackling life and living a life of vitality. No, it's like you're breathing shallow. So you're not taking in the full life. And oh man, I think I have videos of like why this happens to us, which is so phenomenal. Bioenergetics is like, man, it's mind-blowing. But I won't go into that right now. So let's go into the third aspect of what shallow breathing actually does to us. The neurotic holding patterns around our neck, around our chest, and our solar plexus and our belly. These neurotic holding patterns that don't allow us to just breathe fully, that are like tight, like a corset around our whole breathing apparatus. Like what is happening with that? And the third one is emotional overwhelm, just feeling emotionally overwhelmed. And you could just like immediately go into like different zones. And people have different feelings that they gravitate towards, you know? Just like, yeah, I was talking about anger, right? There's also like sadness, right? And it just like, or fear. Let's talk about fear a little bit. It's just like, man, this let's say a person is very fearful. Oh, and it's all because of this emotional overwhelm. They can't breathe fully. So they're fearful. They continue to be fearful. Like, yo, if you can't breathe, like your body is designed to like when you're calm, when you're cool, when you're collected, when you're eating, when you're just resting like an animal, right? They're just chilling. Look at a cat, look at a dog. When they're just chilling, they can just stay still and just breathe and enjoy. They're not like constantly vigilant, you know? And the emotional overwhelm that happens many times because of our neurotic holding patterns in our breathing apparatus is that we're constantly on edge. And because we're constantly on edge, then we just have to lash out in these emotional outbursts. And it's very sad. It's just like maybe if you've experienced it where it's just like, man, I just like I just feel so sad. You know, but then you're trying not to, and you're just like, oh man, I can't show that to the face, to the world. I can't face the world with that. So you try to hold it in, but the emotional overwhelm is still there, especially because these are chronic, right? I'm not talking about a sad situation that happens or an angry moment where it's just like it was right to be angry, or you used anger in an appropriate way, or you were fearful because it was right to be a little bit fearful or concerned or whatever, you know. I'm talking about like this is something that's like an ongoing thing. It's just like, man, I'm constantly emotionally overwhelmed, and these emotions just take over, right? Because it's chronic muscular tension. Remember, it's neurotic holding pattern. So it's just like it's just happening. Your body is like it's just like constantly stuck in this like, let's say, depressive way. And you can watch as many motivational videos as you want. You can watch as many comedians as you want, you know? And it's just like, but your body is still tight with the neurotic holding patterns. So your body's literally telling your brain, like, yo, we're depressed. We're depressed. We're little. We're small. We got to protect ourselves. Emotional overwhelm. I think you get it. Problem number 3, detachment from body. This is a huge one too. You'll notice this with a lot of people who are schizoid, like the schizoid character structure. You'll notice, and you can talk to people, and many people just like don't feel into their body. They feel like they're just like disassociated from here up. That's their world. That's their world. It's just like, they don't even like, they don't really deeply feel into their body. And this is a sad way to live. Like sometimes they don't even really feel. I don't know if you experience this, but a lot of people with neurotic holding patterns, they can't feel parts of their body. And Alexander Lowen called these dead zones. Dead zone. Sometimes it's like legit up here. It's just like their body is dead and their head is not. It depends on where the traumatic moment happened and the neurotic holding pattern is. Sometimes it's in the pelvic region, and then it's just like those people can't feel their legs. And sometimes you can see it. You can notice it in their body. There's some people that have like really skinny legs, like twig legs, and then it's just like their upper body's bigger. And it's just like you can clearly see that there's a disconnect. It's just like, big upper body, big torso, small skinny legs, or big head, bulging eyes, and it's just like skinny little butt. Just like, oh, okay. That's the dissociation that happens because of these neurotic holding patterns. And what that causes is emotional numbness. So they're not feeling their emotions. They're not tapping into the beauty of their emotions. And the reason is because, they've fearfully decided to not feel a certain feeling, right? They cut it off. They cut it off at some point in their life because of a traumatic moment. They got the neurotic holding pattern that cut something off. And maybe it was good at some point for an acute time, but then it became a traumatic experience, a neurotic holding pattern. A, a messed up example is sexual trauma. Somebody who has sexual trauma dissociates, and then what ends up happening is they have a lot of neurotic holding patterns around their pelvic region, and then a lot of times they don't want to feel down there. They're at some point, yeah, the rapist or whatever is gone out of the life, but like 5 years down the line, it's just like they're still not feeling down there. They're not feeling down into their legs. They're only feeling up here. They have emotional numbness down there, like physical numbness and emotional numbness because of the neurotic holding patterns. And you can just imagine how that really affects their life, and how it plays out in their relationships and their desires for pleasure, and so many different things that happen because of the numbness that we have and the inability that we have to feel deeply into our body. And the truth is that, yeah, you're not feeling or experiencing or reliving the sad emotional experience or the angry emotional experience or whatever the traumatic experience was. And it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to feel angry about it anymore. Yeah, but when you're not allowed to feel these negative emotions, which maybe we'll call it like deep, darker emotions or something, when you're not able to feel those and you cut yourself out from feeling those fully, you also at the same time cut yourself off from feeling the other positive emotions or light emotions. At the same time, you limit your emotional ability to feel. And that means like, yeah, I can't feel pleasure. I can't feel joy to the extent that I can feel joy, like peace and all the beautiful experiences of our emotional life. You can't feel those fully too. So you just become emotionally numb, or you narrow yourself down into just a certain amount of feeling that you can hold on to, that you can experience and be with. I can only accept this much feeling, and that's why part of going through the process of bioenergetics is really feeling deeply and breaking through those neurotic holding patterns and releasing those emotions, so that we can not only feel those feelings and process them and let them go, but also so that we can start feeling fully, feel the full spectrum of our body, the full spectrum of feeling and emotion, and then tap into that and use it within our life for whatever we're called to do, right? Okay, moving on. The next one is overthinking. Somebody who has the problem of detachment from their body is living up here mostly. And really what they do is just like overthink. There's people who are straight up dreamers, right? They're just overthinking about these amazing ideas. And that's actually more of the next one that we're going to go into. But the overthinking can be just constantly overthinking, being hung up on something. Like, yo, I'm always thinking about this thing. I'm always thinking about it, and you can't stop your brain. I find it amazing. I talk to a lot of men, right? And I take it for granted that I could just like stop my brain. Just it's like, oh no, I'm not thinking. I'm not thinking. I'm not like ruminating, not overthinking things. I'm no longer thinking of like, what are people thinking of me? What is it? Just like constantly what they call the monkey brain, right? So people who have the detachment from their body many times have that experience of having the monkey brain. And the sad part is when it becomes negative thinking, right? uh, Regardless of if it's negative thinking or not, it's still like a problem. It's still not good. But when it's negative thinking, which it mostly is, it's just like, man, you're constantly telling yourself how much of this you are or that, and it just kind of keeps going into your head, and that's not good. That's not healthy. If you were more able to be calm in your body and feel into your body, those thoughts wouldn't come up as much. You'd be able to ground your energy whenever energy comes in and anything happens. You're like, okay. Hmm, and you'd be able to tap into your meditative center. But that doesn't happen when you're detached from your body. You think you're going to solve all your issues, all the problems up here, and you're gonna think your way through life. You're gonna plan your way through life. And what ends up happening to so many people like that is they get attached to the feelings of control, right? Because here's where the ego is. So you think you're in control of your life. You can't surrender to life. You can't surrender to the body. And that's what ends up happening in bioenergetics. We start learning to surrender into the body and not live our life with our mind. Like our mind is going to control everything. Thinking of every single possible situation, scenario, how things can go wrong, going backwards and being like, I should have done this, I could have said that, or looking in the future and being like, okay, I'm gonna go to this interview or I'm gonna go to this party or whatever, and it's just like thinking of every little thing. And you just spend hours just ruminating and spinning your wheels up here, and it's just like, man, you just walked in there and were calm and just spoke. That's all sometimes you need to do, right? But that's the problem with being detached from the body. And the one that's last I mentioned a little bit was fantasy. Going into your thought and just having fantasies all the time, creating castles in the sky, they say, right? Making up these scenarios, these like awesome ideas where it's just like, yo, I can create this business, or I can have this type of life, or oh, what if like I'm gonna ask that girl out and I'm gonna have this experience with her. You're just like living in this fantasy world. Really, it's just like they do that for hours, just living up here, but then in real life it just doesn't manifest. You don't have the energy and the strength and the commitment to actually make it happen in real life. And then what ends up happening is you just keep fantasizing or going to move into a new fantasy, and the world of fantasy and of mind extends forever, right? There's a million possibilities. So it's just like they stay up here instead of going in and being like, all right, where am I at right now? Where am I standing right now? What are the next steps that I got to take? What does the journey look like? What is the path that I got to take? But detachment from the body means it's all up here, and it's many times fantasy. It's a fugazi. It's fake. It's not real. What's real is what's present, what's materialized here. And there's beauty of our ability to use our thoughts to create ideas, of course, and have visions in order to be like, all right, that's my vision, that's my desire. But that means that I actually have to take the steps, right? So that's using your mind for its imaginative and creative power versus just it being stuck here because you're cut off. You have neurotic holding patterns, so you're cut off, and you can only use your mental capacity, your mental faculty is like all that you've got because of the neurotic holding patterns. There's a difference. All right, cool. Let's go into problem number 4 with the neurotic holding patterns. This one is restricted movement. And this manifests in many different ways. Of course, we already mentioned some of them when we were talking about posture, right? It's just like if you're tight, yeah, you have restricted movement. And what ends up happening is that you're stiff and you have limited flexibility. That's like really the obvious thing that's happening in your body. It's just like I have limited ability to do things, like I can't I can't dance or whatever, or it's just like I can't move my body in a certain way. Many times people have awkward bodies, awkward movements because of the neurotic holding patterns. It's just like sometimes people are straight up stiff. I saw some guy at a coffee shop the other day, and he was a good looking dude, really good looking dude. And he comes up and he's like, and he's built, so he's like been going to the gym and stuff like that. But he just looks so freaking rigid, like almost his whole body. I was surprised. I'd never seen somebody so rigid. Comes in like, I'm waiting for his coffee, and he just looked tight, you know. And what ends up happening is like you meet people, and maybe like let's say like a girl was into him because he was good looking, and it was just like, oh, he's built, he's strong, and whatnot. Like, man, I think it would be like the first date or the second date, she would notice how rigid he is in many different ways, and it's not just rigid in his body, right? That's one manifestation of the neurotic holding patterns, but there's so much more than that. Like the second one is feeling stifled, stuck, or inhibited. That's what happens because of the neurotic holding patterns. So he's going to be having a date with her or whatever, and then he's just going to be stifled in many different ways. Like he won't know what to say. He'll stop him saying, like he'll probably have awkward movements. He'll probably be very calculated in everything he does, and it's just going to look weird. It looks robotic. It's not real. It's not flexible, free. He's not in flow. He's tight. He's tense, and he's stuck, and he's inhibited. He can't laugh when he wants to. He can't express himself easily. It's like there's a there's a neurotic holding pattern that is stopping him from just being, from expressing, from being, and just being like, yo, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. It's weird, and the girl will probably notice and be like, he's a good looking dude, but as soon as he opened his mouth, or she'll make up some reason to be like, yeah, I don't know, he's a little strange. So mostly it's because of the restricted movements that the neurotic holding patterns have, but it affects us more than that. The third thing is resistance to change, right? If you're stiff, you won't, if you're stiff in your body because of neurotic holding patterns, it's just like you're going to be resistant to any type of change, any type of movement, because your body just wants to be stuck that way, right? And your mind too wants to be like, yo, I feel like this isn't ideal, but I feel safe here. I'm okay. I don't want movement. I don't want change. And that's not life, right? This is why Alexander Lowen had a whole book called Fear of Life. Fear of life. And this stuckness, this stiffness, it affects so many different things. Let's say this guy actually ended up going out with this girl, and she, like, they talked about marriage or whatever. He would be too stiff and inhibited and like be stuck. Like, I don't know, I'll be so scared to do that. Probably, right? This guy wouldn't be like, all right, I'm open. I'm open to life. I'm open to this experience. Let me see what it's about. He'd be inhibited. He'd be stuck. He'd be scared. Additionally, even like, let's say in the sexual act, right? Or we're thinking about sex too. Sex is hugely important, and it's one of those things that we can notice how much neurotic holding patterns we have or not. Like, there's a whole book that Alexander Lowen wrote called Love and Orgasm, which talks about the ability to orgasm fully, where your body doesn't have neurotic holding patterns, and you can just allow your body to vibrate and orgasm in its fullness, right? Things that a lot of people don't talk about or don't want to talk about, but it's important. It's important to notice. It's just like, okay, where are the neurotic holding patterns in that aspect of my life? And this guy who is like stifled, who's stuck, who's inhibited, just imagine him being able to have sex. He'd probably do it just like he does everything else in his life, stiff, and as a performance, calculating everything. Like, like not present, not real, not free flowing, not enjoying, not being in the moment, you know? So I mean, we can go deeper into that, but that's the case. It's just like, oh man, it all just becomes a stiff, unflexible, unmoving restriction of life in your body, and then also in every aspect of your life. So those are the four main possible problems with having neurotic holding patterns, how it affects your body. Of course, we couldn't just stick with the body, so we went a little bit deeper into other areas of our life because these do affect every area of our life. But we're going to kind of keep it as much as we can, just focused on like what's really going on in the body itself and what happens. So let's go into the next aspect, which is talking about the possibilities. This is important. It's like what's possible without neurotic holding patterns. What's possible when you release neurotic holding patterns? And the first one is obviously you have a relaxed body. Yeah, you have a relaxed body. Your body's not in chronic tension. There's no like super tight areas of your body. It's just like, oh, okay, you're more like chill. You're more free flowing. You're calm in your body. You feel at home in your body. You're cool. It's just like, dude, it just feels natural to be here, to just be, to be in my body. And what that does is it gives you a calm mind where you don't have to think about everything, where you don't have to like overanalyze or anything like that. It's just like, yo, I'm chilling. I'm chilling. I'm okay. I have a calm body. I have a calm mind. It's tapping into your parasympathetic nervous system. You're like, all right, cool. You're able to rest. You're able to rest. And then you're able to produce when you need to, right? At the same time. The other aspect is structural alignment. Doesn't mean you have to have the most perfect posture ever, but without neurotic holding patterns, you will. You will have structural alignment. It's just like, okay, I'm better aligned. I'm fine. And people notice that. People are like, oh man, that guy's got good posture. Oh man, that guy looks like a person of standing. Oh, that guy, he looks good. Oh man, that guy looks like a powerful person. Oh, that guy looks like a person that I'd like to hang out with, you know? Or it's just like, whoa, that guy looks like he's got his stuff together. Because he does. He's structurally aligned, right? It's just like, oh man, okay. It just allows for free flowing of life, of movement. You walk, you move, you do things, and it's just like it all kind of just seems like it flows. It makes sense. You know, it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, he's just doing things. And what Alexander Lowen called it was grace. He did this in the spirituality of the body. He talked about living harmoniously. And when you're free of neurotic holding patterns, you're graceful, like a dancer who's super graceful, or somebody who's in sports who have practiced a lot, but then they go out there and they just do this amazing stuff, and it just looks like so natural, so graceful, in flow. And that's what they call like talent or skill set or whatever. It's just like that person is skilled. Like it almost looks like effortless. It just is. It's just, your body's just doing what it does, and it's just like it's so beautiful because you're structurally aligned. There's no tight parts that are like messing you up or making you all awkward or weird. And then the last one is enhanced self-esteem. You know, when you feel good, when you feel good in your body and you're just enjoying yourself, it just uh, you feel good. You think good about yourself. Other people think good about yourself about you too. And if they don't, you're just like, ah, all right, whatever. Like I don't know what's up your ass. Like what's bothering you? You know, it's just like you're thinking you're enjoying you. You're enjoying you. You're relaxed. You're calm. It's just like if somebody else is angry, it's just like, oh, that's them. You know, that's them. And I can hold my boundary. And I'm like, oh, I'm relaxed. I don't know about you. You know. So you have that self esteem where it's just like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm chill. I'm fine. There's no reason for me to want to control you or to tell you what to do. It's just like, nah, I'm chill. I'm chill. I'm feel good about myself, and that's the best. That's the best. And I don't need you to tell me that I'm good or I'm great or whatever. It's just like, no, I feel it. I know it. I am it. Self-esteem. All right, let's move on to possibility number two. Of course, it's the opposite of shallow breathing, which is breathing deeply and fully. And what this does is that it helps us to calmly handle the stressors of life, right? There's still going to be stress. There's still going to be things that come. There's still going to be days or weeks or months, maybe even years, where your business isn't going as well as you want to, where maybe there's issues at home, maybe there's, family things, maybe, maybe there's just like, man, these next 2 years I gotta grind it out. And then I also have like a 4 month old baby, that's actually happening to me. Right. And it's just like, okay, that's okay though. I can calmly handle the stress. It's just like, yo, this just is what it is. And it's just like, yeah, there's moments where it's just like, I don't like waking up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning with a crying baby, but it's just like, all right, this is what it is. I got a baby, right? So you can calmly handle stress instead of what was happening in the problem section where it's just like stressful, overwhelmed. It's just like, oh man, your emotion just like your emotions take over. You've probably seen that where people's emotions just take over. It's just like, you're not even in control of your emotions. Yeah. Neurotic holding patterns. Here, you can actually be in control of your emotions and use your emotions when you want to, or express them when you want to. Maybe I could experience a little bit of anger coming up, and it's just like, okay, just calmly breathe. And then you go back into your parasympathetic nervous system. It's calm, and it's just like, I can respond. I can respond to the situation instead of react to it like I would have if I had neurotic holding patterns jacking up my breath and making it all shallow. Now, the other thing is feeling vibrant, feeling vital, feeling energetic, feeling alive. That's the opposite of chronic tiredness and fatigue. But it's just like, no, you know what? I wake up and I have energy. It's good. It's just like, oh, okay. What am I going to do? What am I going to do today? And I can apply it to wherever I want because I'm feeling vibrant, feeling energetic, and I get to choose. I get to choose. It's like, all right, I can put my energy all wherever the heck I want because I got ample energy. Even if I have to stay up late, which I don't like doing anymore, but even if I have to stay up late to work or to do whatever, it's just like, okay, just do it. Just do it. I got the energy. I can do it. The other one is emotionally balanced. It's the opposite of like, being imbalanced emotionally or just allowing your emotions to take over. Same thing that we've been talking about before, except this one is just like, all right, when you're emotionally balanced, you can handle the the reality of sometimes it's necessary for you to get angry or to be sad, and you can have it for a certain amount of time. And this is really good with bioenergetics too. It's just like, yo, if something sad, really sad happens in my life or in your life, the best thing to do is just like, all right, allow yourself to fully feel it. To fully feel it. It's just like cry it out hard for a good 20 minutes. And then release it and be like, okay, that was tough. And then instead of holding it on and letting it come out throughout the rest of your life, you give it its proper due. That's a balanced way of doing it. It's like you allow yourself to get angry for a moment, and then you allow yourself, remember, you allow yourself to get angry for a moment because it's the right thing to do at the time to set a boundary or whatnot. You use anger and do it, but then it's just like, all right, you can easily go back into calm. You don't have to like fly off the handles or whatever they call it, jump to the walls and like be stuck on the roof with like freaking anger. So that's the other one, emotionally balanced. All right, let's go into the number 3 over here, bodily connection. The opposite of not being connected to your body, right? Being dissociated. This one, you are connected to your body and you have emotional sensitivity. You know what you're feeling, you know what's going on inside you, and you can use that. You can use that as fuel. You can know when you're, all right, I'm feeling a little bit more tired right now. Maybe I should take a little bit of a rest. Maybe I should go out for a walk, something like that. You start being like, all right, I'm more emotionally sensitive. You can tell when, you're in a situation that is just like, oh, okay, I don't like this situation. Something's going on. What's going on? And you can just feel into your body and be like, oh, this guy or this girl just angers me or whatever. And it's just like, okay, you're emotionally sensitive to that, and you know what's going on in your body. You can feel through it, but that, again, that doesn't mean you just react. It's like you're going to respond. You're like, this scenario is kind of it's angering me. This conversation is angering me. You can just excuse yourself. You're like, yeah, I don't need to be here, and then just go, right? Just leave. So emotional sensitivity. Also, focused and control thinking. That's what we were talking a little bit about before too, right? You choose to think. You choose to strategize. You choose it for a time period to be like, all right, I'm going to use my brain to set up the strategy for my business or uh, for my day. It's like I'm planning, I'm organizing, I'm using my brain for that. But then when I'm working or when I'm hanging out or when I'm talking to someone, it's just like there's no thinking. There's no like constant overwhelm, like all these thoughts going on at like monkey brain, right? There's none of that. It's just like, no, I'm focused. I'm focused on what I'm doing, what I'm being, where I'm at. And I can use thought. I can use my mental faculty when I need to. And what really helps with this is grounding, right? When you're connected to your body, you're also connected to the ground. You're able to discharge energy. I have a whole video about grounding, what it means to discharge energy fully. Also, when you feel your feet and you feel yourself on the ground, then you're much more able to feel your full body. When you can really feel down there, you're like, oh, okay, I can feel my full self. And then I can tap into the emotions that are happening within. And I could just go from brain to bodily peace and not think about anything. And then when I need to, it's just like, oh, okay, boom, go and use your brain when you need to. All right, possibility number 4 is fluid movement. This is like what we call entering into the flow state. When you can enter into the flow state, just easily, right? Be fluid, fluid in your thought, fluid in your conversation, fluid in your body, and whatever you're doing. It's just that you're in the flow state. You're challenged a little bit throughout life, but you're meeting the challenges, right? That's what they call the flow state. There's a whole book about flow where it's just like, yeah, you got to do things that are a little bit challenging, enough challenging, but you know that you can do it, and then you just do it. And life is a little bit like that. It's just like, okay, yeah, I got this thing to do, but you go do it, and it's just like, all right, I'm just in the flow state, doing life, being life, experiencing life. At the same time, you also have a heightened ability of expression. You're able to express yourself easily. Not be the rigid guy who's got to think about everything. No, it's just like when something's funny, you laugh. You don't have to like think. Will that person find it funny? Would that person find it funny? Should I laugh at this moment? It's just like no. If you find it funny, you laugh, right? And it's just like you're not overthinking again, right? You're not overthinking, and you're also lastly able to change. You're flexible to life. You're surrendering to life. You're adaptable to change. It's just like, okay, change happens, and it's just like, okay, I move with it. I jive with it. It's just like in being with the flow state, it's just like life is constantly moving. It's constantly changing. I'm not going to control it. Just like I'm not going to control everything and control my whole body. I'm not going to be like the tight ass guy who's trying to control everything. No, it's just like, all right, there's change again. All right, cool. Let's meet the challenge and enter into the flow state so that we can adapt and move and groove through life. That's the possibilities. Those are the possibilities when we start living without the effects of these neurotic holding patterns in our body, without that chronic tension in our body. Okay? Now, we're going to go into the principles next. These are the principles. These are the things that we have to know and acknowledge mentally in order for us to begin to say, okay, you know what? I am gonna move forward. There is a path. There is a way. I can close the gap between the problems and the possibilities before actually creating the bridge. Before creating the bridge, it's just like you got to stand here and be like, all right, I know it's possible, and I know I can do it because of these principles. All right, that's what the principles are. Number 1, the body-mind connection, the power of the body-mind connection. We must acknowledge the interconnectedness that really exists between the body and the mind. And what this does is that it gives us an understanding that emotional stress and physical stress are interconnected. They play with each other. Emotional stress manifests itself as physical tensions and physical symptoms. Like if I'm depressed all the time, I go like this. But vice versa, if I'm stuck like this, I'm also depressed all the time and I can't breathe fully, So that's a principle. Just like, okay, the body-mind connection does have power, and I can work on my body, and therefore that will affect my mind. That's principle number 1. If you can't agree with that, if you're just like, nah, son, I don't believe that. Then it's just like, all right, I mean, it's true, but if you don't believe it, then there's no way you're gonna walk the bridge. There's no way you're gonna walk the bridge over the gap in order to go from the problem of having neurotic holding patterns into the possibility of living without it. So, can you accept it? Can you accept that the body mind connection is real, that there's power, and that one affects the other, and vice versa? All right, so principle number two is that breathing is a barometer. So if you can understand that, whoa, all right, so the way I breathe actually affects and influences my emotional and my physical state. If you can accept that, then you can start crossing the bridge into the possibility of living without neurotic holding patterns. If you believe, oh man, all these people who talk about breath, they're just quacky and weird and stupid. Your breath doesn't matter. The way you breathe don't matter. A shallow breath doesn't really mean that you're anxious or that it doesn't cause fatigue, or like if anything that I was saying about breath you can't accept, then you're not accepting this principle. But if you can accept that, okay, you know what? If I begin to breathe in a more calm state, if I can breathe more deeply, it will not only energize my body, but it'll also calm my body and allow me to be more congruent, chill, confident, and allow myself to just like experience life differently, because it's really tapping into my parasympathetic nervous system. My fight or flight mode isn't as high because now I'm breathing more fully. I'm entering into rest and digest. If you can accept that principle, that breathing is hugely important and is a barometer of how we're doing at any given moment, then good. This will be the principle number two. That's going to put you into the path to finally hit into the strategies that we're going to talk about later. The third principle that you got to accept if you want to move forward and move from the problems to the possibilities is emotional awareness. So, acknowledging the significance of being in tune with one's emotions, with your own emotions. Acknowledging that that's significant. It matters. It matters that I do this, If you think, you don't need your emotions. Emotions are whack. They're not necessary. I can just think myself. I can just think through life. Man, nah, I don't need emotions. Then you're not in the principle, right? And if you can acknowledge how emotional numbness can disconnect us from our full self, from living a full life, from really experiencing ourselves fully in our body and in our life, then you're within this principle. Then you accept this principle. If you're like, all right, yeah, I can tell how emotional numbness would mess me up. Not only am I rejecting the negative emotions or the fearful, sad, angry, all those type of like dark emotions, but I'm also not allowing myself to fully experience the joy, the goodness, the awesome experiences either. Because of it, you're within the principle. The other part says emotional awareness is key to regaining a sense of presence and connection with your body and a full range of experience and expression. So the experiencing is the experiencing of the full range of emotions and experiencing joy and experiencing sadness and sorrow and fear, but also pleasure and joy, experiencing it all, experiencing it fully, but also kind of going through the experience, expressing yourself calmly without any tightness or hesitation or whatnot. That's obviously part of the possibility, but the principle itself is just acknowledging the significance that being in tune with one's emotions is important. That emotional numbness will stop you from living your full life, to express yourself fully and also to experience life fully. If you can accept this principle, let's move on because we're going to get to the strategies very soon. But there's just one more principle that you have to acknowledge or you have to accept if you're actually going to start taking step number one onto the bridge and cross from the problems into the possibilities. And this one is flexibility. Flexibility beyond the physical. So this one is recognizing that flexibility isn't just about a physical attribute. It's not just about being stuck and stifled and stiff up in your body, but also it's an emotional and a mental one. That there's stifleness and there's stuckness and there's inflexibility that happens here and in your emotions and everything. That's not just in your body. And accepting that the stiffness itself and the restricted movements that come with it in your body can be reflective of deeper emotional blockages or resistance to life's changes. If you can accept that, that's almost like accepting the body-mind connection, but this is a little bit more minute, more minute. It's just like, yo, if you realize that, it's just like, okay, I have stiffness in my body. There's areas that I probably have neurotic holding patterns, and I can tell how this movement will create emotional blockages, and it can cause resistance, and it will affect me emotionally and mentally. If you can accept that, then you're accepting principle number 4, which is that flexibility isn't just about being physically flexible. It's also at the same time being about emotional and mental flexibility so that we can experience life and go through the motions of life in an adaptable way. Okay? So if you can accept those 4 principles, if you're just like, all right, cool, this made sense. Yeah. Body mind connection, check. Breathing as a barometer, yeah, check. Emotional awareness, yeah, important, check. Flexibility beyond the physical, check. All right, good. Now we're going to go move into the production, which is the strategies. These are the strategies, the 4 strategies. Number 1 is body awareness exercises. Give me 1 second. I think I got a call in a little bit. 23 minutes. We can make it happen. All right. So the production. So here we're going to go into the production, which is the strategies for moving forward. Okay. So there's going to be 4 different strategies that we're going to use to go from problem into possibility. Okay. And number 1 is going to be body awareness exercises. And these are the bioenergetic exercises, but they're going to be specifically the ones that systematically explore every part of your body. And in this way, you become more attuned and aware to where you have muscular tension, where the neurotic holding patterns are. You go, and Alexander Lowen, he described it as going from the feet and going all the way up. So you start at the ground and work your way up, going through specific exercises for every part of the body so that not only you start releasing some of the tension, but you're also much more aware of like, ooh, that's where the neurotic holding pattern is. And this aids in physically releasing tensions, but often initiates a deeper awareness of the underlying emotional issues. And I read about it all the time. The guys who are going through my program, the girls who are going through my program, when I was going through the program, when I was going through bioenergetics, yeah, there was like a big awareness just by doing the physical exercises. I would understand the underlying emotional issues that were connected. It's like, oh, this is why these physical tensions are here, you know? And not only would I understand it, right? Because it's not just a mental game. I would understand it, but I would also release it, allow it to be and not be a part of my life anymore. Right? So body awareness exercises are good so that you understand where in your body there is tension, the emotional underlying aspects of it, and then to start to release it. That's production number 1, strategy number 1. We'll call it production from now on because that's what I wrote here. All right, production number 2, utilize breathing exercises. Of course, that's obvious. We've already spoke about breathing quite a bit. And bioenergetic breathing exercises are a little bit different than other exercises because they're designed to deepen and regulate your breath. They really force you to release the neurotic holding patterns in your solar plexus, in your abdominals, in your chest, in your throat. They force this to be opened so that you can easily and without thinking about it start breathing fully. And this approach uses breathing as a tool to influence our physical and emotional state. So it doesn't just allow us to breathe fully for no reason. It's just like, okay, no. It also affects us emotionally, which is so freaking awesome. And these are like the realities that I'm reading about from my clients, from the people who are going through the process. It's just like, whoa, I'm noticing the emotional changes. I'm noticing the social changes. I'm noticing things within my body, and I'm becoming aware of like, whoa, I never knew that this part of my body was so tense and tight. But as I release it, it's just like, whoa, there's big changes happening. So utilize breathing exercises. Number one was body awareness exercises to really understand the neurotic holding patterns within your body. Number two is the breathing. Breathing is huge. Number three, practice emotional release. These are a little bit more of the expressive exercises that you'll see within bioenergetics. So by going through bioenergetic exercises that facilitate emotional expression, by like legit expressing and tapping into and feeling deep emotions, you start to release them. It's very important to do that, to vocalize, to not just feel it or think about it, but to in your body, with your body, to shout. There actually there is like scream therapy, crying therapy and stuff like that. It probably comes from bioenergetics. It's just like, no, because it is therapeutic to vocalize, to move your body, to open up your chest. That's mostly for like the breathing stuff, but also exercises that encourage shaking and vibration. The trembling that happens in your body releases the stored emotions. These are the vibratory and shaking exercises that we do in bioenergetics. This is important. It's not only just like shaking your body loose, but it's also by putting yourself in specific move into specific, I don't want to call it postures, because that sounds very yogic or whatever. But no, by putting yourself in specific body, we'll call it postures. All right. So by putting yourself in specific body postures that kind of make it a little bit tense, like the bow. Let's say the bow, right? Ah, it's not a natural place to stay. Your body feels the tension of you having to do that, and vibrations happen naturally within your body when you're going through these exercises. There's a lot of release that's going on there. There's a lot of changes and transformations that are happening, not only in your breathing, but also in the release of neurotic holding patterns itself. These are amazing exercises, but then you can also add the vocalization where it's just like you're tapping into the body mind connection in a different way, because you're doing like a little bit, I guess, in a way of like neuro-linguistic programming, or deprogramming. You're using vocalizations, not only sounds, but sometimes even words. Like some of the exercises are straight up just like stopping and saying, no, 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 There's some that are like, yes, yes, or get off my back, get off my back. By vocalizing that and saying it, you're going deeper into that area. You're doing specific exercises to release areas of your muscles, but you're also vocalizing it, getting in deeper, really experiencing fully to the fullest degree that release of the neurotic holding pattern, that emotional tension that is stored there. You're starting to release it by going deep into it. And lastly, these techniques help break through the barriers of emotional numbness, enhancing connection and presence within your body. So if you do have emotional numbness, or if you do have muscular tensions in specific areas, if we go into like the expressive exercises that really provide a lot of like movement, maybe even like a tantrum, there's some that just like hitting is huge. You start releasing a lot of the tension that is stored in different parts of your body because of you going through this. And if you add vocalization too, and really get into it, whoa, the release is huge. So I would suggest doing this. Starting off with the body awareness exercises. This is how I have it set up, and this is how I think Alexander Lowen would want it to be done. First, go through the stages of the body, the sections of the body. Then also really go tap deeply into your breath. You'll be doing this while you're doing the first one. You'll also be doing the breathing, but then go into the emotional releases, go into the expressive exercises to go deeper and release more after you already know what's going on in your body, because you did step one, right? You did strategy one. And then lastly is going to be incorporate the dynamic movements into this experience. And these are the ones similar to what I was saying before, expressive exercises, but there's some that are a little bit more dynamic in the sense that it's not a static type of hold, right? So it's not just like the bow is kind of a static hold and it does cause vibration. And there's other exercises where you put yourself in a tense state. But there's also these ones that are dynamic movements where you're legit, like, let's say, stomping around a room and swinging your hands, right? It's just like, okay. And then you start feeling what's going on in there, and you're starting to release parts of your body, parts of the numbness that are happening in your body, and that affects your mind and your emotions. It's freaking amazing. An experience, man. The experience is not only incredible while you're doing it is intense, but after you're done with it, it's just like, whoa, it's incredible how different I feel. It's awesome. But then after you go through the whole series, it's just like, whoa, man, that not only affected me a little bit there, now it's just like I'm transformed in so many different ways. So with these specific exercises, they're dynamic, expressive movements to improve physical and emotional flexibility. By doing those dynamic movements, you start really breaking free from the neurotic holding patterns, especially the chronic muscular tension that is around your fascia. You start moving things around, which is very important because this tackles the stiffness and encourages a greater range of motion in your body, right? In your body. But remember, principle number 4 was it's not just your body. Flexibility also will happen in your emotions. You'll be able to feel more. You'll be able to feel more and experience life more and express yourself more because now you just broke some of those tight, dead zones or chronic tense zones within your body through these dynamic movements. Also, through these movements, individuals can address both physical restrictions and emotional blockages that manifest as resistance to change and feeling stifled. You won't feel stifled. You won't feel stifled when you do that. When you go and just let yourself go into these exercises and allow yourself to just release the body and enter into the full expressive release. When you're out in society or whatever, and you're talking to somebody, you're not gonna stay the same stiff person you might have been before. You just did some crazy, you just did some crazy bioenergetic dynamic movement exercises. When you're there, you're gonna be calm and you'll be able to just like flow differently because of this. All right, so those are the 4 strategies: body awareness exercises, utilize breathing exercises, practice emotional release exercises. These are the expressive exercises, and definitely incorporate the ones that are more dynamic in their movements. Okay. Now the path. Go quickly through the path. Number 1, you can join Bioenergetics School community. By joining the community, you're going to have a supportive environment where people are working on this. Everyone there is working on this. We're working on it together. Bioenergetic practices. Also, you will embark confidently on your journey of self-discovery and healing because you'll have guidance, you'll have coaching, you'll have a structure. You'll have a full structure of going through these body awareness exercises, the breathing exercises, the practicing of emotional releases, and also incorporate dynamic movements. We also add character structure into it, but that's an additional thing that is a bonus. All right, cool. Path number 2, experience standard exercises. That's number 1. Once you enroll, you're going to start off with these standard exercises, which is going to go through the whole body. You'll start phase number 1. The initial phase, it's crucial. It's crucial. I know some people want to just jump into like the expressive exercises. They want to go hardcore. They want to just like, yo, let me just fully release, man. Let me release, bro. And although I get it. You want to just come in and tackle it hard up, head on, just like boom. That's not the smart way to do it. The smart way to do it is this way, so that you gain a deeper awareness, a much deeper awareness of your emotional realities. You get much more of a result this way. You really understand your body. You really understand and have awareness of the emotional aspects that have been attached to you for so long and how they have been affecting you throughout I don't know how long, but throughout most of your life. And you go into number 3. Once you're done with those, then you can progress into the expressive exercises, which is what we were talking about before. After the standard exercises, these are the ones that focus mostly on deep emotional release. You start entering into like the real meat and potatoes, let's say. It's like, okay, after you started doing some of the releases, you're just like, okay, I know where I'm at. I know that, okay, by doing the standard exercises, I know I have a lot of sadness in my body. I know I have trapped emotions in these specific areas. Then you go into the expressive exercises, which are designed to deepen your emotional awareness, but also to destroy these long-held emotional tensions, the neurotic holding patterns. They're designed specifically for that. So so that you can actually transform, so that you can actually release them fully. It's much deeper than the standard exercises. I love the standard exercises. They're awesome, but the emotional ones, the expressive exercises, it's just like, ooh, that just takes it to the next level. It's a deeper level of healing by doing it this way. And then finally, number 4, finish with character structure. This is where the bonus comes in. It's like to conclude your journey by exploring your character structure, a concept in bioenergetics that provides insight into how your physical and emotional patterns are shaped by your life experiences. So there's 5 different character structures, 4 that are like the main ones, I guess. But let's say there's 5 because there is 5 different character structures, and then you can go into each single one and see, all right, which one mostly resonates with me, right? That you could kind of resonate with 2, but there's going to be one of them that you're going to be like, wow, that really resonates with the way my body looks, with how I notice my emotional life and my social life and my psychosomatic life, just like how I notice myself. It's just like, oh dang, that one's the right one. Okay, so then there's the ability to not only understand your character structure, but there's also a pathway of healing that is associated with it, because there's patterns. This is a patterned type of reality. If you're an oral character structure, there's a pattern. There's a pattern to your life. There's a pattern to your physical life, but then also a pattern to the way you socialize and relate to others, and even the way you think. It's all so interconnected. It's amazing. And because now okay, this is the character structure that I most resemble, what exercises you'll have to do even deeper to work on your specific type of character structure. What are those exercises? And that's number 4, the path. Once you're done with that, whoa, game changer, complete. You're done. You're done. You went through the emotional releases. You went through first you went through the bioenergetic school community and did the standard exercises, right? Then you go into the expressive exercises and the dynamic movements. There's different levels of expressive exercises that we do there, and then you finish with character structure, and it's just like you are done. You are done. You are a whole transformed new person in 4 or 5 months. You're completely anew, renewed. Just like, dude, I'm free. I'm free. I'm new. And a lot of people ask me, it's just like, yo, do you have to do this? Do you have to do this over again? Do you have to constantly be doing these exercises? And the answer is no. This isn't like a workout program that you got to do forever. No, this is body mind therapy. You're doing therapy. You're doing real deep level transformations. So you will not finish with the problems. You'll go from the problems to the passive possibilities. You'll live in this new way, with this new being, with this new body, with this new freedom, with this new flow. That's the whole point. The neurotic holding patterns end. They stop. You may have some level of things that happen in your life that keep coming up. You may have stressors, right? But then what ends up happening is that you do not revert. You do not just like, oh man, now I'm revert back exactly to my old anxious neurotic self. It's like, no, 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 no. You're a different person. You're a different person. Things come in and it's just like, okay, they can affect you. They can affect you, but it's just like, yo, I'm a new person and I'm handling it different. Not only that, but I'm also able to be aware of my body in a whole new way and my emotions in a whole new way. I'm responding to life now, not reacting to it. And also, if something is really, really stressful and I feel that it's tightening parts of my body, I'm aware of that now. I'm like, oh, that's tightening my jaw. Now I have the resources and the ability to know that, not only mentally, but I also know the exercises that are going to help to release it. So you can release it quickly at a moment's notice, instead of having to sit with it and not know what to do and live with the problems, with neurotic holding patterns in your body. All right, so I hope this helped. for you to understand neurotic holding patterns, what they are, how problematic they are in our life, and then also the real possibilities if we listen to the principles, if we take on the strategies, and I gave you a path that you can enjoy and grow in and transform. All right. See you in the next one. Peace.